Hello, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be going over 3 ACT math questions. For all these problems, I recommend pausing the video and trying the problems yourself first before you see me solve them. Without wasting any time, let's get into it. Question 26 says, the graph of function f of x equals negative 9 parentheses x plus 1 squared plus 81 has its vertex at point negative 1 comma 81 and intersects the x-axis at points negative 4 comma 0 and a comma 0. It asks us for what is the value of a. So in other words, this is basically asking us what are the zeros of this function, right? So for this question, you can replace f of x with 0, right? Because that's your output. This is your y. This is your x, and your y is just the same thing as f of x. 0, and then you have negative 9, right? And now if I plug in a plus 1, because you're plugging in a for x, a plus 1 squared plus 81, and now I can just solve for a. So subtract 81 minus 81 equals negative 9. A plus 1 squared divided by negative 9 divided by negative 9. 9 equals a plus 1 squared. And now we have to square root it. So you get plus minus 3 equals a plus 1, right? And now it asks us for the value of a. So let's solve for a. So let's first use plus 3. 3 equals a plus 1. And negative 3 equals a plus 1, right? And now if we solve for a, we get two answers. We get negative 4 equals a, and we get 3 equals a plus 1. We get minus 1, minus 1. We get a equals 2. We already have negative 4 comma 0 as a point, right? And that means our answer is going to be the other answer for a, which is a equals 2. So the answer to this question is H. Let me show you guys how to do it on a calculator, on Desmos. If you're taking the ACT digitally, then all you do is just graph this. X plus 1 squared plus 81, right? And now just see where it hits the x-axis. Negative 4 comma 0, that's one of them. And then 2 comma 0, that's the other point, which tells you it's a equals 2. And yeah, that's how you do that problem. So on a graphing calculator, you click y equals, this button right here, and you put in your function, negative 9, x plus 1 squared plus 81, right? And I can't graph it on here, I think. Oh, I can. Okay, yeah. So as you can see, this is the function. It hits it at negative 4 comma 0. You can see that. You can also see it hits 0, or the x-axis, at x equals 2, right? And that tells us that a equals 2. On to question 48, which says triangle PQR shown below. The measure of angle P is 40 degrees, and PR equals 110 meters. And the measure of R is 80 degrees. Which of the following expressions gives QR in meters? So for this question, you have to use the law of sines. So first, let's just get all the angles in the triangle. We know all angles in a triangle add up to 180, and we're already given two of the angles, 80 and 40, which means this one has to be 180 minus 80 plus 40, right? 80 plus 40 is 120. So that means this has to be 60 in order for all the angles to add up to 180. Now let's use the law of sines. which basically says that, let's say I take this angle, 40, right? Sine of 40, sine of 40, over its opposite side, so QR. This ratio is equal to sine of 60 and its opposite side, which is 110. These two are equal. This is what the law of sines states. An angle over its opposite side equals another angle in the triangle over its opposite side. And now we can just solve for QR by cross multiplying. $110 sine 40 equals sine 60 QR. And now we're solving for QR, so divide by sine 60. You get 110 sine 40 over sine 60. And that's QR. This matches answer choice F. On to the last question, question 60, which says, given a minus b is greater than a plus b for all real numbers a and b, which of the inequalities below must be true? So for this question, let's simplify the inequality first, right? And the first step of that would be to subtract a from both sides. And notice the a's cancel out, so you get negative b greater than b, right? And now if I add b to both sides, I get 0 greater than 2b. And now if I simplify, right, I still have to divide by 2 in order to fully simplify the inequality. So I get 0 has to be greater than b, which is the same as b has to be less than 0. And this, if we look at the answer choices, you see this matches the second answer choice, right? Second statement, this matches the second statement. So since we simplified it, this has to be true, right? We simplified this inequality and we got b less than 0, which means this second statement has to be true. Now let's look at the first and third statement. Let's look at the first statement first. So it says a has to be greater than 0. Well, here we just we got rid of the a's, right? We canceled out the a's. So I don't think so this is true. But again, you can always just plug in numbers and see what you get. So plug in 5 for a, and b has to be less than 0, so plug in -1. And then plug in -5 for a, and then keep b the same, -1. And let's see if by choosing different values for a, 1 greater than 0 and 1 less than 0, if this still holds true, because this has to hold true for all real numbers a and b. So let's look at this first. Use a equals 5 first. So 5 minus -1. This is 6. 6 is greater than 4, right? So that's true. Now let's plug in a equals -5 and b equals -1. -5 minus -1. -5 plus -1. This is -6. -5 plus -1 is -4. -4 is actually greater than -6. And here, a is less than 0. And this still works, right? This is still true. So this actually shows that this first statement is actually inaccurate and not right. Now, let's move on to the third statement. And look, it says B has to be less than 0. I mean, B has to be less than A, right? Well, we just tested it right here. In this case, B is actually greater than A, and this inequality is still true, which also gets rid of this answer choice. So the correct answer is G. I hope that makes sense. These were the 3 questions, and thank you for watching.